Gaurav an opportunity to respond. I'll get an opening comment from Priyanka Chaturvedi, because it's the state governments that asked for flexibility. You didn't want the Prime Minister and the BJP government at the centre to dictate and determine policy. Now that freedom has been given, the opposition parties are continuing to complain, and the central government thinks that's terribly unfair. Priyanka.
No, what is unfair is the central government going on blaming the state governments for the vaccine policy. Please understand, like they keep comparing it to a war. Gaurav Bhatia was comparing it to a war. I would want to understand those who are, at the forefront of the war. If your army men come and tell you that we are running short of vaccines, please help us procure more, I would say, ammunition. Would you just turn a blind eye to them? And would you just say that's your responsibility? You are supposed to win the war, but we will not provide you with the ammunition. So what the state governments have been stating and repeatedly stating is that we need more vaccines. We are running short of vaccines. What was the health minister saying? Health minister continues to say, oh, there is no shortage of vaccine. We will ensure that you all continue to get vaccines. What do they end up doing in the month of April? In the month of April, they wash their hands off and they introduce 3 prices. They allow the pharma companies, the manufacturing companies, to introduce 3 different pricing for the state, for the center, and for the private hospitals for procurement. Now, obviously, when you've given the charge to pharma companies to sell, they will try and make profit as much as they want. So what they will do is they will choose to sell it to private hospitals because that is giving them more money. And that is why the state governments are left with no vaccines. Now, when you talk about global procurement, there is 1 second. Please allow me to complete, Gaurav. As far as the global procurement is concerned, the Central Health Ministry today came out with a myths and fact sheet. In that, they say, oh, we have been in talks with global vaccines since mid-2020. I would say any government which is talking will be able to perform in 2 ways. Either they procure these vaccines or they give them their EUA so that we can go and procure the vaccines. Nothing has happened. So since 2020, you have been not even building a stockpile. You go and order for vaccines in 2021, January, 1.6 crore of vaccines. Till now, you've only ordered 34 crore vaccines for a population of 100 crore, which is eligible for vaccination.
Okay, so you make an important point, Ms. Chaturvedi, and I want Gaurav Bhatia to respond to it. This difference between private parties going to the same manufacturers and the state government going to the same manufacturers. Now, let's assume that one of the top hospitals goes and says, I will pay you much more than the government of the Congress, the AAP or the Shiv Sena, sell me the vaccine. At this moment, the reality is that several of the private hospitals seem to have the vaccine and the state governments don't. What does that mean? Either it's your fault that you aren't dictating and determining where the vaccines are supplied, or it's the fault of the manufacturers, in which case you need to clamp down, because naturally they are wanting to sell at a higher price to the private players rather than sell to the Thackeray government or the Congress government or the Kejriwal government. And in both cases, it's the BJP government that needs to respond, Mr. Bhatia.
So Rahul, here are some facts now. The constructive things that have been done by the central government without the support of the irresponsible opposition, if I may be allowed to say that. 20.5 crore doses of vaccine have been inoculated. This is the second fastest in the world. We all know the population of our country is around 135 crore.
But you're not answering my question, Mr. Bhatia. Can I ask you a very direct, straight question? Get you to answer it and then I'll come to more. At this moment, private hospitals, some of them seem to have vaccine supplies. State governments don't. Now, the reality is that private hospitals are paying more to the vaccine manufacturers than the state governments. So why is it that vaccine manufacturers are being allowed to sell at higher prices to these private hospitals rather than provide equitably to the state governments? Is that not vaccine inequity? Is that not unfair? Is that not benefiting the rich at the cost of the poor? Is that not something you should be acting against, Mr. Bhatia?
So Rahul, I hope I'll not be interrupted again, because I wanted to also respond to what the AAP spokesperson said, and my friend Priyanka has also said and made some allegations too, but I will answer your question first. First of all, Rahul, you also would admit that 50% of the vaccine is still being procured by the central government. It will be given to the state governments, and as of today, the state governments have 1.85 crore vaccines with them. Even the Delhi government, that is alleging that there is a shortage, has around 1.5 lakhs. And in the next 3 days, another 11 to 12 lakh vaccines will be provided to the state governments. Yes, in the long run, we need to augment our production capacity, and that is what the central government has done. I will tell you that by the end of December 2021, 200 crore vaccine vials will be produced in India and will be brought from other countries. Sputnik has already come. There would be production of Bharat Biotech also, which has a capacity of 1 crore per month right now. It would be augmented to 10 crores in the next 3-4 months. That shows clearly the government has the right intentions and a plan in place. But let me also raise this question. Look at the policy of the central government. Uttar Pradesh, with a population of 23 crores, got 1.7 crore vials, whereas Maharashtra, with half the population, got 2.13 crores. It shows that without discrimination, if the state needed vaccine, it was provided. But why did Congress party and others create vaccine hesitancy? Chhattisgarh, Punjab said, we don't want co-vaccine. Now they're saying we want. So when you take U-turns, when you question the central government and the commander,
you didn't answer my question, and I just want to draw that out. But I will come back to you later.
I will answer it.
No, but you've spoken a lot. You haven't answered it.
If you feel, no, I can answer in 15 seconds. If you think part of your question is unanswered, I will answer it, Rahul. Give me 15, 20 seconds.
Okay, 20 seconds.
When you say, yes, when you say that, private hospitals are getting the vaccine, but the state governments are not, I have already answered your question, because the 50% procurement that is being made by the central government will trickle down to the state government. Second, if there are citizens of the country who do not want free vaccine and they can afford it, why shouldn't they get it? I think it is a shame that state governments, especially of the opposition-ruled states, have been ineffective to procure these vaccines, whereas private entities are showing that they are in a position to obtain these vials.
No, but what does that mean, Gaurav Bhatia? I don't understand what you're saying. No, sir, one second. It's not as if there's infinite demand, infinite supply of these vaccines. Atishi Marlena wants to come in. There are only two people who have the vaccine. One in left pocket, one in right pocket. Now, it depends on who they give it to. It's not as if there are 100 places. It's not a gold rush. Okay, let Atishi Marlena come in. Gaurav, you've spoken at length. Let's be fair. Let's give equal airtime. There's no inequity on this show.